Okay, this is a giant dice tower that I've been making for a tabletop RPG game. This is actually a friend of mine is also helping me work on a one-shot kind of campaign that can be, it's designed to kind of utilize the exterior ledges and different elements as something so you can play on the dice tower and try to climb up to the top. The idea is to make it kind of like a roguelike where you keep, if you fall off, you got to kind of climb back up. But if you wanted to play it as like another part of your campaign or create your own thing out of it, there's a bunch of access points that I'll point out where you could essentially have 2D internal maps that you can play without having to play on the whole thing, including like the big dungeon and all this other stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to go over and point out each of the different skill checkpoints that you would need to climb up and the different access points and obstacles that you might run into on this tower. Starting out, there are 2 of these base ladders. These ladders are going to be both a skill check of 16 to climb from the bottom to the top. There's one here, and there's one here. So 16, roll 16, managed to get up here. Right here we have our lowest accessible window. There's bars on this window, but if the heroes are able to get through the bars somehow, they can get to the inside of the tower. They'd have to climb up around here to get to the window. This can either be a skill check or you can just use rough terrain at like half speed or something to go from here over to here. But they would still need to have a means to get into the window. We have these 2 other windows right here. These are not accessible, but they are, a way, to indicate what's going on inside. If you're inside, you can use this as a reference to kind of gauge where you are in the general scope of the whole tower. Is using these as a reference, like, oh, there's a window here on this wall, so I can be like, oh, I'm either here or I'm here, depending on what the layout looks like on the 2D map inside. But these are access from the inside to the outside, so if you need to get fresh air or you need to call out to your friends that are outside to help you or something like that, these windows will be able to do it, but you don't know if you're the top window or the bottom window maybe. That's kind of a fun element, but these are more just inside outside through points. Here we have the big portcullis, and this tab pulls it up or down. Inside here, can't really tell, it's all dark, but there's ledges, like shelves on the top here. There's one there, and then there's room down here at the bottom. And so you can either store giant, like large monsters in there and make it so that a random monster comes out if something happens and you just have to reach in and pick one. Or you could have it be that this is where heroes enter a larger dungeon where maybe the most of the game happens. And this is just off to the side looking cool. There is a window here, but it's not really accessible. How you want to incorporate these 2 things is optional, because this can either be storage for your monsters or it can be access to larger dungeon play. This is the roaming ladder. I'm still painting stuff, so this hasn't been finished painting yet in some of this area. But this is the roaming ladder. It is a loose ladder, and our heroes can use this they can climb down and get down to here and then be like, oh, there's nothing down here. Or maybe, I don't know what, but more importantly, the heroes can grab this and drag it with like half speed. It's a little, scale's kind of big, So you could say that this is a giant monster ladder. So it's heavy to move. But you could have a skill check where you have to do 17 to set up and climb it, is what I'm thinking. So setup would be, you know, pass a 7 and then 10 to climb up it. And you can use it to get up here, or you can drag it around and take it to other places. Speaking of similar areas here, all of our pitched roofs are going to be a high slip and fall risk. So if you try to get up on one of these roofs, you're more likely to fall down than actually move past it. So maybe you use this ladder as a way to bridge and climb over and get across stuff. But you have to figure out how you're gonna move it around the area. So I'm gonna keep this right down here for now. But they can pick it up and they can drag it. Looking at this area, I had to zoom out a little bit. This area right here is this is like our lowest door, and they have to essentially climb down and up and over to get to it. You can see there's these kind of ledges that they'd have to climb across. So the idea is that from here, from this ledge right here, or, you know, here, either one of these spots, if they pass a 20, they can just quickly climb across and get to this ledge. And then they have to figure out how to open the door. Either it's locked or they got to break it down. If they want to do it in 3, they can do it in 3 sections and each have to pass 6 to do it. So it's like, I got to drop down here to get to here. That's 6. Climb down to, you know, from here to here is 6, and then from here to here is 6. Or climb down to here is 6, and then up here to 6. You know, it's up to the DM. So that's that door and climb across area. I'm still painting, still doing more detail work. This is the collapsed platform area. So it's just like like a wood platform that has collapsed and is kind of precariously placed between this area and this platform. This is about 5 inches long and would take a skill check of 15 to traverse it. This is our narrow girder. They could climb along this girder from either here, or here down. This is about 6 inches long, and this would be a skill check of 18 to get across. That's the narrow girder. Speaking of girders, on the opposite side, we have our wide girder. This is about 5 inches. And this one, from here, these rocky outcroppings to this rocky outcropping, would be a skill check of 15 to cross. Coming over here, we have our second highest door. This is the door slightly above our first door in terms of overall height. This is one of the base ladders. So from this ledge, it would be I got it written down here, a skill check of 10 to get from here to here quickly, boom, to get over there. And from here, or from like here, this rocky area, would be 8 to get to it. 7 or 8. Depends on the DM. This is kind of your main access door. It's intended to kind of stand out and be like, well, we can definitely try to get into this one. The front door, if you will, right? Yeah, they'd still have to unlock it or figure out how to enter. Okay, so I think all rocky terrain should be like half speed or whatever, but once they get up to here, this is where we have our rocky tower. This tower has rocky outcroppings all over. The bottom part of this rocky tower, you climb up these ledges and then climb through this little space right here in the game, and that would be a skill check of 16 to climb up here and get across. 16. Here's one of the climbing ropes. There's 10 knots on these. There's another one right over here. Both of these climbing ropes would be a skill check of 20 to get up. So they can climb up it past 20. If they can't make it, they slide down, something like that, maybe. Coming up here, we have this other platform. This is where the rocky platform was, and one of these rope bridges ends, or climbing rope ends, or is anchored. Here to here could be something small like 6 or 8 or something like that, because it's just one, climb here, climb here, climb here, or climb, whatever. And another platform with this is the other top of the climbing rope. These kind of rough areas could be high risk of slipping and falling, or half speed. Any of these areas that are really kind of just rough. So there's more over here. There's this over here. So one false move and you could fall. This stuff right here, something like that. This actually is another obstacle. You can climb with the roaming ladder. This is the platform over here by this area. This is the narrow girder. And here, if you were to take the roaming ladder, you could pull the roaming ladder here and climb up to here. You could drag it up here and put it here and use it to climb up. And you'd have to belly crawl through this space right here, which you can do, but you can't. Part of this obstacle is that you cannot drag this ladder through here. You just can't do it. There's no way to grab it once you get off to the other side. This other ledge could have some kind of treasure, a bad guy, something. There's also, while we're in this area, this is our top door. This is the highest door on the mall, on the tower. And there's nothing to get to this ledge. So they either need to have magic, or they need to figure out something, or they need to take the roaming ladder and bring it up this other way to get here and use it to climb up. Something like that. Let me back it up here so you can get this scope here. So that's our top door. So this is a whole process. This is the hard part to get to. Or maybe this is a door they come out of and they have to jump down or something. Here is the upper part of the Rocky Tower. From this platform, let me zoom in again here. From this platform, you can go up here to this window, which is also accessible. You'd have to break the bars or figure out how to get through. But they can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and get into that window. To go from the platform to the window would be 8, a skill check of 8 to climb up there. If they're going to go from the platform over here to this ledge, which could have a bad guy or a treasure or something they need to attain, that can be climbed up via this way. And that would be a skill check of 12. And then if they wanted to go from ledge to window or window to ledge, that would be a skill check of 18, because they'd have to scale all the way across and out here. So like we said, if you have internal maps and maybe they have to climb out this window, they can climb down here, they can climb back up here in 2 sections, or they can go all the way across as one trip. Other obstacles, we have these high girders here. These high girders, there's 2 of them. There's this one and this one. They're really not intended to be climbed on, but if they feel like they need to, it'd be a skill check of 15. There's nothing over here. There's no reason to go there. But maybe they feel inclined to do it. It would be a skill check of 15. They're basically walking into their own trap. But if they get onto this skinny tower or this cone type thing and they wanted to drop down, they'd have to do a skill check of 20. This has a really high slip and fall risk. This Spire has a big slip and fall risk, and this one has a big slip and fall risk. Thinking about making like flags that if they needed to go up and capture them or something, it would be really challenging, but ideally people wouldn't be using their minifigs up here. I worry about them going into the dice holes. But internal maps could be, oh, I'm in a really skinny tower. I'm in this tower, or I'm in this tower, or I'm in this tower, like based on the, you know, layout of the map that I'm currently playing on. And so they can have a reference of where they are in the whole scheme of things. I think that's most of the obstacles. There's this like cross brace, and there's a couple of other little spots that maybe your players will be like, hey, I want to go from there to there, or I want to use the roaming ladder as a bridge or something. So like, you know, if they wanted to bring the roaming ladder up here, essentially they'd have to go from, let's say it starts over here. Usually I've been putting it right here as like a starting point. They'd have to bring it over here to this platform. Then they'd have to go from here. They could put it here and climb across and pull it over. Then they'd have to go from here to here and climb over with it and drag it over. And then they'd have to bring it back down and drop it down to here. And then from here, they could essentially climb up to this ledge. There's a whole around the way kind of way of doing it. It's kind of interesting. But, you know, if they say, I want to climb up here and go into this hole, you say, no, you can't do that. That's the dice hole. And speaking of dice hole, I'll show you how it works. You have these 6 dice here. This is where these ones come out of. So if I put purple in there, I go down here, purple's right there. Pretty quick. Coming out. There you go. And then, oh shoot, I dropped one. Okay, now over here is where this one, they come out this side. So green going in there. Oh, 1, great job, nat 1. So I can put gosh, 1, okay, at least I banged 1 into a 5, that's good. It is kind of fun. I've rolled a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 with these, and of course I'm not going to do it on camera, which is a bummer, but then out of this area, they go in to here. So let's drop in blue. Drop the other ones. Okay. And again, this whole tower spins around, which is fun. You know, you could have all kinds of monsters on these different platforms. So it'd be tight where they need to fight. They don't have a lot of area to run around or move. Or they're just climbing up and falling down, climbing up and falling down. Or, you know, maybe based on how your 2D maps are, you can always go into the tower, find a bunch of different ways to get in and around and do all kinds of cool stuff inside. So anyways, yeah, that's the thing. Thanks for watching, and hope you guys think it's cool. All right, bye.